Merry New Year! Oh, sorry. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2025. Welcome to the Houston Roundball Review Takeover of the Lunch Break. Sponsored by Bayou Beat News, and powered by JM&E. The takeover is also available via the BS3 Network. I am, of course, KG Chris Gardner, owner of the Houston Roundball Review. We're going to do it again solo. Holidays, folks got things to do and lives. And I just want to share some things with you. Some talk about De'Aaron Fox, rumors, discussions, possibly coming to the Rockets and how they can't finish games against good teams lately. But as I mentioned, the takeover is sponsored by Bayou Beat News. Bayou Beat News, of course, bringing that Southern love to your daily news coverage. I'm going to go a little different because usually I start the show, the first segment of the show is usually about my alma mater, the University of Houston. Not tonight, not today. Going to talk Rockets. Going to talk De'Aaron Fox. And then we'll get into the Cougs men's and women's basketball. Cougs women's team, 0-2, but played well, surprisingly, against 12th ranked Kansas State. Even led in the game in the fourth quarter by a point. And then we'll get into that more later on in this edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover. Give me your comments as you listen to the comments from Coach Udoka, Ime Udoka, after the Rockets collapsed Sunday against the Heat in the fourth quarter. Rockets, let me get this off my chest before I get into more of it. If you missed it, last two games, home games, I've done some post-game shows right after the Rocket games. Going to try to do that more and more the rest of the NBA season, the rest of the Rockets season, which probably will include the play-in, should at least include the play-in, maybe even the playoffs. But the fourth quarter against the Heat, they missed 10 straight shots, they missed 10 straight threes. Why did they take so many threes? They were 4 for 25 in the fourth quarter. It looked bad, but thank you to the Rocket family. The Let's Talk Houston Rockets family for joining me and sharing their comments and questions. And perhaps some of those LTHR shows will begin being shown on ROKU via the BS3 Network. And if you have a ROKU streaming device, just download BS3 TV. If you don't have it, why not? It's the year 2025 of our Lord. The year to go ahead and get it. If you don't have it, just go to bs3network.com or bs3tvlive.com. But simply go to Roku. Just download it. Add it. Get the app so you can watch this show, The Takeover, and additional shows by the Houston Roundball Review, like some Let's Rage Coop shows, like Let's Talk Houston Rockets. So more and more, year 2025, trying to have more shows, more content on Roku via BS3. And I'd love to have more time slots available on Roku, on the BS3 network. And you want to do that, just advertise, email me. It ain't free. Email me, advertise at thehrr.com. But one of the comments during the postgame show, my postgame show, or our postgame show, Rocket fans, Big Thrillo. Shout out to Big Thrillo. Some conversation between Thrillo and Justin and a few other Rocket fans about the Rocket players, the IQ of the Rockets players, and whether they were high IQ players. The general consensus was there are not a lot of high IQ Rocket players on this team. So one of the questions I threw back at, can that be taught? Can you learn to have a high IQ in basketball? Or does that just come with experience and more playing in your young NBA careers? Here's some comments from Coach Udoka. And oddly enough, while we're talking during the postgame show, listen to some of his postgame comments. Check this out.
At the end in both of those games obviously stands out. And that's something that has to be addressed. We go back and forth during the game at times, have our ups and downs. And then when you can rely on your defense and, hold the team to certain numbers. I mean, they finished with 23 in that quarter, and they had a ton of free throws at the end and the technicals and all that. So we are guarding well enough and holding Minnesota to 100 until they go on their run. But we're struggling to score at the end, and so that's something that needs to be solved. Until Dylan and Cam hit the 2 threes, we had 12 points at that point. So, teams are scoring 104 with all the free throws and scoring to that low of a number. Obviously, those should be wins for us if we're able to score the ball, and so got to be better at the end for sure. I mean, they tried to make us prove it and went under a lot of pick and rolls. They relied on Bam to guard one-on-one with Alpi, and he struggled a little bit there in the fourth quarter, and then went under a lot of pick and rolls, and obviously we didn't shoot it well in that fourth quarter. So took away some of our driving lanes by going under, but teams have done that this year at times, and I just think as a unit, as a whole, obviously when we look at the numbers of fourth quarter only, a few guys were 0 for 3, 0 for 4, and then it puts the onus on some of our vets to try to do more, and that doesn't always work out. I wouldn't say desperate. I mean, you're searching for someone to, kind of shoulder the load, I guess. You like to do it as a team, like we try to do all game, or you go with a hot hand at times, but teams aren't going to allow you to just continue to go with what works. You have to find secondary options, and that's when, whether it's Alperin in the post and finding guys open, you got to make those shots, or other guys penetrating and setting their teammates up. And like I said, they went under a few times and bottled up the lanes, or Adebayo guarded one-on-one, and obviously 12 points is not enough to get it done, regardless of how you're guarding in the fourth quarter. Yeah, I mean, we kind of built that reputation last year, and we've taken on that mentality. So I think the league and teams know what we're about. So that's nothing new. And like I said, going into this year, the fact that we've laid that foundation and mentality of toughness and competitiveness and effort and all those things, now we just have to add the IQ and the finishing to it. And so I think more so that's been there, done that last year, and need to figure out the other side now, which is finishing games, IQ stuff and experience, stuff that happens with experience with our guys, and not being deer in the headlights, so to speak, at the end of games when it's our first time.
So there you go. Add IQ. Not be deer in the headlights, but add IQ. Coach Udoka said that. Rockets players need to add IQ, figure it out in the fourth quarter. I've said it, and I'll say it here. Give me your comments. I really want to see your comments on that topic about Rockets and IQ, high IQ, add IQ. But when teams are daring the Rockets to shoot threes, when they're going under the screens, when there's a lot of drop coverage, you don't have to take a three. You don't have to settle for a three. You can figure it out. You can penetrate, pass, and cut to the hoop, make the defense adjust to your movement. You don't have to settle for a three-pointer. You don't have to do what your teammates are doing when you're missing 1, 2, 3 in a row, and then add to it 4, 5, 6 in a row. You can't do something else. You can't put on the court and dribble and attack the paint. And even if teams are clogging the lane, you don't have to settle for the three. You can make the defense move and make the defense react to what you're doing. But they're standing out there by the three-point line. That's what the defense wants you to do. So don't do that. Don't settle. And that seems to me that should be common basketball sense to me. But what do you think? Is Rockets IQ part of the issue of them not closing out games against good teams? Bad teams, Rockets have done their part. They have a great record. But against the better teams, and teams are developing a book on Alperin Sengun in the fourth quarter, but being more physical against him, Sengun needs to adjust to that physicality in the fourth quarter. Season's still young. Rockets, we're not quite at the halfway mark of the season. Rockets have plenty of time to figure it out. But part of figuring it out, does part of figuring it out involve making a deal, making a trade, make a trade for an impact player, or just make a trade for a player on the fringes, someone to help the bench mob, someone to do what Tari Eason does when Tari Eason's healthy to play. Tari's absence has been felt recently. So what are those things? Now you have Amen Thompson serving the 2-game suspension, tossing down Tyler Hero. I wonder what Tyler Hero said to make Amen react like he did. in those closing moments of the game against the Heat on Sunday. But all those things as you are watching this edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, sponsored by Bayou Beat, BayouBeatNews.com. BayouBeatNews.com, bringing that Southern love to your daily news coverage. Again, visit BayouBeatNews.com, bringing that Southern love to your daily news coverage. There's been a lot of talk lately in the NBA circles that De'Aaron Fox in Sacramento, a 2016 winner of the Guy V. Lewis Award, which goes to the top boys high school player in the greater Houston area. Shout out to our committee. I'm on that committee. Been on it since the beginning. We have announced our 50 players watch list in December, and we'll be announcing 25 by the end of January via GuyVLewisAward.org. We are finalizing everything for our 501c3 so we can accept donations, and we're working on a few other things regarding this year's coming award. Try to tie it in with an organization. It's part of our award reception for the winner of the 2025 Guy V. Lewis Award. Back to the 2016 Guy V. Lewis Award. Mr. De'Aaron Fox from Seven Lakes High School and the University of Kentucky. Big Blue, but also now a member of the Sacramento Kings. The Kings, and they are the Kings. They're the Kings now. They were the Kings when they made the playoffs. They're back to being the Kings. But ESPN's Ramona Shelburne wrote some interesting information, some quotes from Mr. Fox, Brother Fox. Part of the article, link in the description, posted on the Houston Roundball Review for this video, for this show. The texts from Mike Brown would come in like clockwork. After every practice and every shoot-around, De'Aaron Fox would check his cell phone for a detailed message from his now former coach, Mike Brown. Quote, "He texted me every day with a grade," end quote. Fox told ESPN this weekend following Brown's dismissal on Friday. Fox liked the push. Quote, "I've always been coached hard," Fox continued. "I went to Kentucky because Cal, former head coach at Kentucky, John Calipari, would be hard on me," end quote. More from De'Aaron Fox. "I feel like there's this perception that people thought that we were at odds," him and Mike Brown. "You can ask anybody in this organization. Me and Mike have never even had an argument. We could disagree with something. We talked about it, and it was gone," end quote. If anything, Fox said Brown did exactly what he explicitly told him he would do because he knew Fox could take it, and the team needed something to shake them out of the funk that ultimately cost Brown his job. 3 weeks ago, after practice, Fox said he and Brown had a heart-to-heart about where the team was and what they could do, what they could both do to help the Kings out of what has now gone into a 5-13 slide. Brown told Fox that he believed Fox could become one of the best two-way players ever at his position, but he had to keep pushing himself. Quote, "I was fine with that," Fox said. "He told me things, then he said it to the media. And obviously, he still played me 40 minutes because he wanted me to do those things. He was being tough on that." Sounds good to me. No problems there. Sounds like a good relationship. between the star player of the team and the head coach. As an old school player, as an old school person, an old head, I like coaches being tough on players. I like coaches being tough on those players because they expect a lot from those players. To whom much is given, much is expected. Much is required. So keep those quotes in mind. Let me know your thoughts on those quotes. What De'Aaron said to Ramona Shelburne, ESPN senior writer. Because that was, Mike Brown let go a few days ago, last week. Head coaches around the NBA did not like how it was handled. I didn't either, based on what we heard, what was told to us. How Mike Brown had just finished practice with the team. How he was headed to the airport with the team, was getting a road trip. Received a phone call, and he was basically fired over the phone. And the rationale from the Kings organization was the higher-ups, owner, GM, etc., were talking all day for hours, trying to get on the same page, same accord. So the conversation took a long time, and that's why the firing did not happen before practice. That's why the result of the timing was because of the conversation that the owner, the GM, VP, etc., had to finally decide this was the move that needed to be done, was to fire Mike Brown and name Doug Christie the interim head coach. But that's for the Kings organization. Let the Kings be the Kings, whatever. Bleacher Report's Eric Pincus, NBA insider, NBA writer, wrote an article on December 30th, a few days ago. Basically the one NBA team where a trade for De'Aaron Fox makes the most sense. And I'm waiting and looking forward to the comments that y'all make, because you know who it is, because I wouldn't be talking about it if it weren't them. But here's part of Mr. Pincus's article. There's a title. There is a title. The De'Aaron Fox trade idea most likely to happen. De'Aaron Fox will be extension eligible this offseason with hopes of earning all NBA honors and a supermax contract starting at approximately $59.5 million in 2026-27. God bless those media contracts. Boy, let me be part of that money right there. But I digress. Back to the article. That seems out of reach, and his max extension would start at $51 million, which is, of course, still a massive payday. A number he can get from any team, unlike the Supermax, which could only be from Sacramento. Grumblings in NBA circles suggest Fox will push for a trade before the February 6th deadline, and that the Kings will likely entertain all options. One team stands out as the best potential trade partner: the Houston Rockets. One more time. Mr. Eric Pincus from the Bleacher Report, from Bleacher Report. One team stands out as their best potential trade partner: the Houston Rockets. Back to the article. Here is the proposal. Sacramento would get Reed Shepherd, Cam Whitmore, Jeff Green, Jay Sean Tate, and Jock Landale, plus a 2027 first round pick swap, a 2028 first round pick, a 2030 first round pick, a 2031 first round pick swap, a $9.2 million trade exception, part of the trade for Mr. Fox, and a $2.1 million trade exception for Dougie McBucket's Doug McDermott. The Rockets would get in return De'Aaron Fox, forward Trey Lyles, and Doug McDermott. Y'all get all that? Y'all get all of that the Rockets will be giving up to give to the Kings, to send to the Kings? One more time. Reed Sheppard, Cam Whitmore, Jeff Green, Jayshawn Tate, Jock Landale, a 2027 first round pick swap, a 2028 first round pick, a 2030 first round pick, a 2031 first round pick swap, a $9.2 million trade exception, and a $2.1 million trade exception. All in exchange for De'Aaron Fox, Trey Lyles, and Doug McDermott. Note from Mr. Pincus: the Kings and Rockets have several picks to choose from: quantity, type, year, etc. Protections are also negotiable. McDermott cannot be dealt until January 16th, based on how he was acquired to the Kings. He can be removed from the deal if it needs to go through before then. Heck, got 2 weeks. I mean, Rockets can't wait for that. 2 weeks. But anyway, Sacramento would waive Jay Crowder and Orlando Robinson to open up roster space for 5 incoming players. If both players are not waived on or before January 7th, their salaries will be fully guaranteed for the season. If McDermott is not included in the deal, the Kings must open another roster spot. And just so you know, January 7th on the NBA calendar is when salaries become guaranteed. Why the Rockets do it? Since the team probably can't invest the minutes necessary to develop Sheppard and Whitmore properly, they're the obvious young players to go out in the deal for Fox. While Thompson and Eason are also younger players, they're strong defenders. Talking about Amen Thompson and Tari Eason. They're strong defenders who fit Coach Ime Udoka's play style. For Houston, it's really about deciding who to cash out its picks for, and whether Fox is the right choice, or if someone they view as better comes along. Remember that Fox was named to the All-NBA third team in 2023. That Fox plays the same position as Fred VanVleet is a positive, since he's the primary player who doesn't fit the team's age range. In the meantime, Udoka can sort out the rotation. So stop right there. So with this deal, and you're sending Reed Sheppard and Cam Whitmore to the Kings for De'Aaron Fox, you would then have De'Aaron Fox, Fred VanVleet, and Jalen Green. So think about that. The going rate for All-Stars, Fox made the 2022-23 team, is, quote, a whole bunch of picks and prospects. Well, that's what this deal would be. And while it's a risk for Houston, Fox could help provide a badly needed offensive boost without stripping out what the Rockets need to stay competitive in the West. Lyles and McDermott provide additional depth, and the team can sign minimum players to get back to the required 14 regular contracts. And by minimum players, he means veteran minimums. So league minimums for veterans based on their years of service in the NBA. Houston stays under the luxury tax this season, as do the Kings. Next year, the team would presumably, opt Van Vliet out of his final year at $44.9 million because Rockets have a team option on that third year. Let me say it to myself, my shiny bald head on the big screen, yet again, because the third year of Fred's deal with the Rockets is at the team's option, not the player's option. It's not Fred's choice. It's the Rockets' option for that third year worth $44.9 million. So they could presumably opt Fred out of the deal, of the final year of the deal, year 3, and either retain him at more than half the price or put those resources elsewhere. Assuming Fox proves a good fit, he and the Rockets can negotiate a long-term extension this summer. So think about it. Again, trading in the trade proposed by Eric Pincus, Reed Sheppard, Cam Whitmore, Jeff Green, Jayshawn Tate, Jock Landale, all go to the Kings, plus picks in exchange for De'Aaron Fox, Trey Lyles, and Doug McDermott. So that's 5 Rocket players plus draft picks in exchange for 3 players. And of course, none of those 5 Rockets includes Jalen Green. Is that a good thing? Is that wise? Does that make sense from the viewer's perspective? If the Rockets opt out of Fred, and I think they will, even if they sign him to a longer contract at a lower price. So I'm guessing, or would you want to see a starting backcourt for the future of De'Aaron Fox and Jalen Green? Is that a championship level backcourt? Or is it championship level backcourt De'Aaron Fox and Fred Van Vliet? And then you do something with Jalen Green in the summertime. Or if you want to be bold, something before the February trade deadline this season. That's a lot. Especially after Rafael Stone said weeks ago, take it for what it's worth, that he wants to see this no major trade this season. He wants to see the Rockets team as currently constructed, see what they can do before making any deals. But if De'Aaron Fox goes public with a trade demand and says, I want out, Sacramento ownership, I want out now, then what do the Kings do? And then Reed Sheppard in Sacramento get more playing time. Will Reed Sheppard become a better player with more playing time in Sacramento? Could Reed Sheppard become a better player with more playing time with the Rockets, which he's not getting right now? Should the Rockets give up on Cam Whitmore? Or is it just the reality of the numbers? Cam just not going to get a lot of consistent minutes here with the Rockets as they are currently constructed. So what do you think about the deal? That proposed deal, one more time, as we get to the bottom of the hour here on this edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, sponsored by Bayou Beat News, bringing that Southern love to your daily news coverage. Reed Sheppard, Cam Whitmore, Jeff Green, Jayshawn Tate, Jock Landale, a 2027 first-round pick swap, a 2028 first-round pick, a 2030 first-round pick, a 2031 first-round pick swap, and then 2 trade exceptions for De'Aaron Fox, Trey Lyles, and Doug McDermott. Doug McDermott, hell of a three-point shooter in his prime. He's on the downhill side of his career. Trey Lyles has never been a great athlete, but he's a smart player, skilled big, three-point threat also. Can play some five, not really his best position though. But anyway, but what are your thoughts on that deal, that trade proposal via Mr. Eric Pincus from Bleacher Report? You are watching the Houston Roundball Review Takeover of the Lunch Break on this Throwback Thursday edition, streaming live on YouTube via the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel. Also, Facebook via the Houston Roundball Review Facebook page. And of course, via the BS3 Network on ROKU. BS3 Network, changing the way you watch television. Here is a quick promo of what BS3 is all about.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
Welcome back to this edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover of the Lunch Break, sponsored by Bayou Beat, Bayou Beat News, BayouBeatNews.com. I am, of course, KG Chris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review. Bayou Beat News, bringing that Southern love to your daily news coverage. First part of the show, talked a lot about De'Aaron Fox rumor, or the Houston Rockets being the best trade destination for De'Aaron Fox from the Sacramento Kings for a lot of players. 5 Rockets going from the Rockets to the Kings. But now it's college hoops time. This bottom half of the hour. Hoops, 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 hoops. That's all I'm talking about. Hoops. Not football, not bowl game, not CFP. Hoops. Houston Cougars men's basketball began Big 12 play with a road win on Monday over the Oklahoma State Cowboys. 60-47. Cowboys made a ripe 3 layups out of 22 attempts. 3 out of 22 on layups. Some of that, Coach Sampson said, they just missed shots. It wasn't great defense by the Cougs. Oak State just missed layups. It's part of Oklahoma State shooting 25% from the floor. But it's a road win for the Cougs. 60-47. The numbers in parentheses, you see, are the net rankings, current net rankings for the Cougs opponents on their schedule, Big 12 schedule. Okay, Oak State, Oklahoma State, 114. It's a road win, so it's still a Q2. Quadrant 2 win for the Cougs. And of course, there are the quadrants, the meaning for what I say Q1, Q2. Quadrant 2 away is in a range of 76 to 135. The Cougs also face Oklahoma State in February. Oak State at a 114 as a home game. That will be a Q3. You see that quadrant 3 home, the range is 76 to 160. So back to it. The Cougs Big 12 scheduled net breakdown. 13 Q1 games, 6 Q2 games, 1 Q3 game. Last week, the net breakdown was a little bit different. It was 11 Q1 games and 8 Q2 games. What has changed? What changed? The net rankings are fluid. They change daily based on results, game results, and based on where the game was played, the opponent, their ranking, whether it was a road win, home win, or a neutral site win. Since when everybody's now in conference play, it's either road or home. Well, back to it. Look at that opponent on January 15th and January 29th. The West Virginia Mountaineers. Net ranking is now 29. Last week, it was in the 30s, like 35, I think, something like that, 35. But it's improved. It went from a Q2 to a Q1 because the Mountaineers shocked a lot of folks, not themselves, but they won at Kansas on Tuesday. They beat the Jayhawks. Final score 62-61. The game had one tie. That's it. The Mountaineers led by as much as 18 points in the game. KU made a great comeback to tie the game. Thank you, Zeke Mayo. But Javon Small made one free throw, missed the first, made the second with 1 second left for the final score. West Virginia 62, Kansas 61. So now, that's why that is one reason from the game went the Cougs Q1 went from 11 to 13. But that's just one because the road opponent playing at West Virginia was already going to be a Q1. The second Q1 is part of the other slide. I believe, let me see where, I think I missed it. Where? Excuse me, is the January 18th opponent. UCF, road game. UCF did something that apparently, so far after one game, is not yet as difficult as it has been in years past in the Big 12. They won on the road. They won in Lubbock. 87-83. UCF's net ranking went from 80 to 63 with that road win over the Texas Tech Red Raiders. So because of that now, like I said, because of that, it used to be 80. That was a Q2 for a road game. But it's now, the UCF Golden Knights are now net ranking of 63. So road game, that is a Q1. So sum it all up, the Cougs have 20 total Big 12 games, already played one. They now have 13 games in the Big 12 that count as quadrant one opportunities. And ironically, or factually, look at it, BYU's this Saturday, 1 o'clock. I think that game's on ESPN+. I want to say like the Houston Cougars, 3 or 4 of their games at least, the first part of their schedule, are games on ESPN+. ESPN+, I'm bouncing all around here on this edition of the Takeover, but ESPN+, the Houston Roundball Review, has a website affiliate partnership with ESPN+, Disney+, NBAstore.com, the WNBAstore.com. I say all that because that is one of the 6 ways to support the Houston Roundball Review. It's number 6, actually. So you go to the website, HoustonRoundballReview.com or the HRR.com. Click on the links pertaining to ESPN+. There's a banner on the homepage of the website, HoustonRoundballReview.com for ESPN+. You will see in that banner LJ Cryer, Houston Cougar, Hunter Dickinson, KU, and the Wichita State Shockers mascot. You can click on that banner and sign up for ESPN+ and support the Houston Roundball Review that way. And again, 6 ways to support the Roundball Review. 6 different revenue streams. Got to get these streams flowing. New year, I'm being more aggressive. New ways, 6 ways to support the Roundball Review. Get these different revenue streams flowing for the Roundball Review. I want to go on the road. I want to go on to cover the Cougars on the road, Big 12 tournament, road game, etc. Help me make that happen. So ways to support the Roundball Review financially. Click on the ads via the blogs, Houston Roundball Review Men's Hoops blog and or the Women's Hoops blog. Got that. So 2 different blogs, blog posts on each of those blogs. Click on those ads. You can, of course, purchase official Houston Roundball Review merch. Got a brand new logo, sweet merch, hoodies, caps, sweatshirts, long sleeve shirts, short sleeve shirts, etc. with that sweet logo you see in the right corner there, right side. Or you can just contribute via PayPal, Zelle, and or the Cash App. And if you're wondering, Chris, hey, I want to do that. Show me what I got to do there. There you go right there. Cash App, my government name, Christopher Gardner. That's Christopher with a K, K-R-I-S. There you go. Zelle at the, some folks say the, HRR.com. PayPal, paypal.me/the or the HR review. So that's a direct way. Another way. You're a business. You can purchase a listing in the brand new Houston Roundball Review business directory. $50 cost rest of the year. $50 from now through the end of 2025. $50. 50. It also includes, I mentioned you on this show, thanking you, or some video posts, intros of videos, thanking you for your support of the Houston Roundball Review. You can advertise on the podcast, on the live stream shows like Bayou Beat, like Bayou Beat News, BayouBeatNews.com, bringing that Southern love to your daily news coverage. You get that banner in the upper right corner of my Rocket shows. Rocket shows are very popular. Get back into the swing of that. So different ways to support the Houston Roundball Review. So back at the Cougs men's schedule. Well, the Big 12 now getting into the net rankings. Here we go. All right, here we go. The Big 12 net rankings as of December 31st. Cougs at 5. Iowa State at 6. Baylor 17. Kansas 20 after their home loss to West Virginia. Arizona 23. The Bearcats, their road loss to Kansas State. They're 0-1 in Big 12. K-State, much improved, much needed win for them. Texas Tech 28. Last week, I think it was like 20. West Virginia went from 35 to 29. BYU 37. Cougs faced the Battle of the Cougars this Saturday inside Fertitta Center, 1 o'clock. So the Cougs will win that game. It's a question of which ones. Arizona State, after a loss, is 54 in the net. UCF, after their road win in Lubbock over Texas Tech, net ranking of 63. Utah, 71. TCU, 73. Colorado battled Iowa State tough in Boulder, but Iowa State is just a better team. Forced a lot of turnovers from Colorado and crashed the hell out of the offensive boards. And the Buffs did a poor job of completing possessions on defense with the defensive board. And they lost to the Cyclones. K-State at 107 and Oklahoma State at 114. Women's hoops in the Big 12. I'm going to bounce around from SEC. They're starting up conference play January 2nd. And then January 4th in College Station, Longhorns and Aggies, men's hoops. Oh, that should be a hell of a game right there. Women's hoops, Big 12. Net rankings. K-State, 6. They're now 14-1 after their win over the Houston Cougars. 74-55. TCU is at 8. West Virginia is at 14. Baylor 18. Utah 26. Oklahoma State 32. Iowa State 55. Texas Tech 62. Their win was over Houston on, was it last week, I think, to move to 1-0 in conference play. Cincinnati 70. Colorado 77 with their home win over West Virginia. Big win for the Buffaloes. Women's hoops. BYU 78. Kansas 84, Arizona 85. Arizona State comes to Houston to face the Cougars on Saturday. So 2 games inside Fertitta Center on Saturday, January 4th. The men first at 1 o'clock, and then the women at 6 p.m. Arizona State and Houston. Yes, 2 of the 3 worst teams in Big 12 women's basketball squaring off this Saturday. I'll be there. But anyway. All right. I'm going to touch on this. They're bringing from the best conference in men's basketball this season, the SEC. Auburn 1, Tennessee 2, Florida 4, Alabama 9, Mississippi State 18, Kentucky 19. The Aggies, Texas A&M 21, Georgia 27, Vanderbilt 31, Longhorns 34. So yes, Longhorns Aggies. That is a Q2 opportunity for the Aggies because the Longhorns are 34 in the net. Ole Miss 39, Arkansas 40, Oklahoma 44, Missouri 50, LSU 51, and then South Carolina. What are y'all doing, South Carolina? 86. You got 15 teams rated from 1 to 51, and then South Carolina men's hoops at 86. Well, okay. And I want to say SEC women's hoops got a matchup of the Longhorns and the Sooners on January 2nd. Should be a hell of a game there. But SEC women's net rankings: Texas 1, South Carolina 2, LSU 9, Sooners 10, Vanderbilt 12, Alabama 15, Tennessee 19, Ole Miss 21, Mississippi State 28, Kentucky 33, Auburn 50, Florida 56, Missouri 58, Texas A&M 88. Coach Taylor, Johnny Taylor, you got to turn around. You got to save your job. Georgia 140, Arkansas 146. Yee. But back at Houston Cougars women's basketball, I touched on it. The Cougars are 0-2 after their 74-55 loss at home to Kansas State. Listen to this before I play a clip from Coach Hughey and also Coach Mitty and senior guard Jalen Glenn from Kansas State. The Cougs battled back. They were down 10 at halftime, 37-27. Outscored Kansas State by 10 in the third quarter to tie the game up at 51. Took a 1-point lead in the fourth quarter. Free throw, 52-51. They lost 74-55. Cougs missed their first 13 shots in the fourth quarter. So it went from a 1-point lead to a 19-point loss. They were outscored you do the math, 23-4 in the fourth quarter. It went 1 for 16 from the floor in the fourth quarter. Here are comments post-game. Here's a post-game press conference from head coach Ronald Hughey. I was the only media there at the game, so I spoke with Coach Hughey and K-State head coach Jeff Mitty and Jalen Glenn. First up, Coach Ronald Hughey.
First of all, I'll say thank you for the good Lord for another year, another blessing, another opportunity to get it right. Again, K-State, number 10 or 11 team in the country. The one thing I can say about that team is they understand who they are and how to execute and how to fight through all the tough moments. And it was evident down the stretch. After we came and took the lead, it's just something about their leadership, and it was something about them and their just their DNA, their mentality to say we're not going to lose this game. We threw everything at them, and then again for 34 minutes, I thought we did everything we can to win the game until we started just to go downhill. For us, it's not being disciplined down the stretch. It's our leadership got questioned down the stretch, and then everybody want to play hero ball. It got away from what we were doing. A lot of half-court execution throughout the game. We shot 45% in that third quarter because we listened and we did what we were supposed to do. And then the fourth quarter, it's the disaster. So you start doing everything that we told you not to do, and that's what came from it. But really proud of our guys for sticking to the game plan. Now we just got to do it for 40 minutes. Really got to do it for 40 minutes. And again, saw some really bright things. Saw Peyton, who didn't score a whole lot, but she held Lee to 15 points, and those 15, some of those were, down the stretch and free throws and things like that. But we really did a good job on her. We didn't give up a ton of threes. That team make almost 9-10 threes a game. That's why we wanted to make sure we stayed out of the matchup, because we didn't want to give them space. Again, they made 4 threes. That's all we wanted to be able to give them, 4 or less. But again, our transition defense has to get better, so we can't give those up. But again, just have to keep fighting through and get stronger and do what we need to do down the stretch.
Coach, what was your message to the team after the game?
I just told them I was really upset with them in the first time out. We were up. I told them, box out right there. I'm getting ready to call a timeout. We were down 4, and we give up an offensive board on the free throw line, and then they get a basket. Now they go up 7, and then they're like, call a timeout. And I'm like, that can't happen. That can't happen that close, and it's 6:18 on the clock. So hold it together. We got to come down and continue to execute. And then we come down, 1 pass and a shot, 1 pass and a shot, 1 pass and a shot. And so that just ignites the break for them. And then on top of that, they're going to pass it 7-8 times and be able to work you in the half court to be able to get the ball where they want to. And they were able to do that. But my message to them was, you have to close out these kind of games when you get a team like that on your floor with the momentum we had, especially coming out of that third quarter. You got to be able to push through and win those games. Our leadership and our discipline has to kick in, and you have to understand, if you speak positively to yourself, it can happen. We've done it here before, over and over and over. And that was my message to them, like, you have to continue to get better, but our real test is coming up, whether we're going to be able to put that same kind of effort in night after night after night after night, because I think we're finally getting into a rhythm of understanding what Houston basketball is like on the defensive end, and we had a chance to do that today. Turn them over 19 times, got 12 steals, got 15 more shots than they did, but just didn't execute like we needed to for 6 minutes of the game.
You kind of touched on it right there. You forced them in turnovers, but didn't score off those turnovers. What happened there?
That's exactly it, because again, when you're coming down with a 3-on-2 with one person dribbling the basketball, you want to be able to move it like they did in the first half. Gigi and Aaliyah, back and forth, move the defense. Fourth quarter, we didn't do that. We just drove it down, waited till it was the last minute for me to get a shot, and if I couldn't get it, then I tried to pass it. Now it's too late. And that's what I told them, a lot of selfish play coming down the stretch where you can't have hero ball. You still got to continue to share the basketball. I said we had 10 assists with 8 minutes left in the game, and we finished with 10 assists because we stopped moving the basketball. And they finished with 18, 17, 18, something like that. And so again, you have to continue to play together.
What are your thoughts on what Coach Hughey said? He's frustrated. They tied it up third quarter, took a lead, 1-point lead in the fourth quarter, and then lost by 19. It was 52-51, Houston over Kansas State. Final score was Kansas State 74, Houston 55. Missed 13 straight shots. Missed the first 13 shots from the floor in the fourth quarter. Made just 1 shot from the floor in the fourth quarter, 1 for 16. But as I said, I also spoke with head coach Jeff Mittie from Kansas State and Jalen Glenn. Jalen Glenn scored 15 points. Her 4th point today was her 1,000th career point at at Kansas State. Well, I have Coach. I've known Coach Mittie since his days at TCU, so that's why it's on my mind. But here are some comments from head coach Jeff Mittie and Jalen Glenn after Kansas State's win over Houston.
A big credit to Houston to getting the tempo and the chaos that I think they wanted, and so credit them for coming out of the gates after the break, and I thought bringing a lot of fight to us. This is a good game for us in terms of we're going to have to handle these situations. I was proud of our group for handling that in the fourth quarter, but we're going to have to be able to handle it just like that, because there's going to be games like this where you don't feel like you're in rhythm very much. You don't feel like that the game is as clean as maybe you want it, and you got to find a way to win, and proud of our group for doing that.
Coach, what was different between third and fourth quarter?
Well, I thought our defense. I thought we kept them to some jump shots. I thought we got in their shot line better. They were getting to the rim at times. I thought Poindexter really raised up in that. We were able to not only use the what we call gravity of Lee, but we were able to get on the ball some, but we were also able to use that gravity to get Poindexter an open look at three and to create some offense there. So, I mean, you know, we were not playing well at all at the end of the third, and you could see that momentum shift. And I think it was just important that we come out in the fourth and establish those things. And the first 5 or 6 possessions I thought were pretty good for us.
Jalen, I think this right. You scored 1,000 points in your
Yes.
career. So what are your thoughts on that? Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, of course, it's super exciting. But yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do that without the help of my teammates throughout the 4 years of me being here. So I also credit to them as well. But yeah, it's exciting.
And in your opinion, what was different between the third and the fourth quarter for you guys?
I would definitely say I feel like their pressure picked up once they got the momentum going. They were being a lot more aggressive on us defensively, and I think we just kind of got out of sorts as a team. Kind of just wanting to make a push back, but then being in such a rush to do so. I think it kind of got us out of what we wanted to do. Yeah, but then we were able to get it back in the fourth. Yeah.
Coach, how steady is Serena for you as point guard?
Yeah, you know, pretty steady. I mean, I don't think today was necessarily a great game for her. She had a lot of turnovers, but, you know, Jay and Serena both have been through these together. Both of them are 2 players that you can really count on in the times that you need them. And even when they haven't had their best game, there's a lot of trust there from me to them that I just trust that they're going to try to make the right play and do the right thing and be engaged that way. I think what Serena did in the fourth was make a lot of those plays, make a lot of right passes, find a lot of right plays in that stretch, and that was big for us.
And the last thing, what areas of improvement do you want to see from the team going forward?
Well, certainly not having that third quarter, not allowing Houston to get back into that like they did, because we were very inconsistent offensively. Way too many turnovers today, way too many disrupted possessions, and those things got to get cleaned up.
There you go. Post-game comments from K-State head coach Jeff Mittie and senior guard Jalen Glenn on scoring the 1,000th point of her career after K-State's 74-55 win over the Houston Cougars. Thank you for watching the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, sponsored by Bayou Beat, powered by J&E, streaming live on ROKU via the BS3 Network, BayouBeatNews.com. Bayou Beat, bringing that Southern love to your daily news coverage. I'm, of course, KG Chris Garden of the Houston Roundball Review. Subscribe to this channel. Tell your friends about this show. Tell your friends about the Takeover. Tell your friends about the Rockets post-game shows here on the Houston Roundball Review on YouTube. Spread the word. Happy New Year. Merry New Year. And remember this, since 1994, the Houston Roundball Review. Local name, global perspective. Take care. Peace.